Hello, in this tutorial video I want to show you on how easily to do transitions between the different dancing moves. So we're going to cover a few different moves here. So the first one we'll look at is how to change feet when you're doing the T-step. So how to go from doing the T-step on one side to doing it to the other side. So what I'm showing here from the view of the feet at the bottom is how when you place the foot, after you've placed it to the side, once you bring it back to the middle again, you can then shift your weight onto that foot, right? So it's usually easier to place the foot either at the front or behind you, so not directly where your other foot is. So if you put it that way, then shift your weight onto the foot that you've just placed and then do the same motion with the other foot. You can then move that like you normally do the T-step by putting the other foot to the side. And then you bring that one back and you can now swap them over again. So just keep doing that. Try both at the front and at the back. They're both quite valid ways of doing it. So here's also a view from the top, so you can see how it can be done. So just always see where you can put the foot so that you don't actually put one foot onto the other by accident, like you don't want to be stepping on your own feet. So usually either in front or at the back, those are the best places you can put. Now the next one we're going to look at is how to transition from the V-step to a T-step. Now this one might be a little bit harder to get, so it might require a bit more practice. But if you remember, the V-step had two distinct positions, right? So you have the position with the heels together and the toes apart, and you have one with the toes together and the heels apart, right? So if you're moving with the V-step in a certain direction, as you transition between the phases, once you get to a phase with the toes closer together, you can lift one of your feet up, okay? So you lift one of your feet up just at that moment as you transition into the position where the toes are facing each other, right? The heels are apart. And then what you do next is with the foot that's still on the ground, you continue doing the motion as you would normally do. So you put all of your weight onto that foot. So you put the weight onto the upper half of the foot, so the half closer to the toes, and you move your heel inwards, whilst the other foot, the one which you lifted up, will actually go to the side with the T-step. So ideally what you want is once you put your feet down in this T-step, that the toes are actually facing away from each other, right? So the toes are not facing towards each other, they're facing away. So it's during the stage when the toes are together, that's when you lift the foot up, and once the toes are apart, that's when the other foot goes to the side. So you can do the same thing onto the other side, it's literally the same. So what might be best to practice first is, as you're doing the V-step, just try to lift one of your feet up and just keep going with the other foot, right? So without going fully into the T-step, just lift one of your feet up and keep going and get used to that. Once you get used to that, then try to do the T-step. Now this next one is one of my favorites to do, and that's transitioning from the running man into the Charleston Shuffle. So with the running man, if you remember, there were also a couple of key positions, right? So one with your both feet down, one in front of the other, and the other position is the feet closer together with one being up, right? So as you keep going, because with the running man, you're actually going, one foot is in front of the other, right? And the other is moving backwards. And with the Charleston Shuffle, they were kind of going to the side. So as you're transitioning, once you have your feet on the ground, as you're lifting one of the feet, instead of making it go directly up, actually make it go slightly to the side. And so you're kind of bringing it out in an arc. So you're bringing it in an arc to the front, and you can and then you can do the same thing to the back as well. So you can do it that way. So instead of bringing it straight up, you bring it out in an arc to the side. So we can see the view from a different angle as well. So you can see from the top. So you're going straight and then out to the side, going around in an arc to land perfectly into the Charleston Shuffle. And then the same way you can go from the Charleston Shuffle back into the running step. So this is just the reverse of that. So as you're bringing your feet over in an arc, what you're doing now instead is, as they both are on the ground, you now bring the one that's behind you, you bring it straight up rather than going in an arc to the side. You actually bring it straight up and put it straight down, just like with the running man. So it's just the reverse of the other. You can go back and forth between them quite easily. Notice also with the running man, the feet generally tend to be positioning facing the same way, right? So they're kind of facing straight. Whereas with the Charleston Shuffle, they're actually facing at a slight angle. So when you place a foot down, the heel is actually pointing slightly inwards and with the toes slightly outwards. So just do keep that in mind. And the last one is transitioning between a T-step and a running man, or running man to T-step. So you can go either way. So the thing to note here is that the running man and the T-step, the common position to them both is with one of your foot down and the other one lifted up at the knee. So that's the time when you switch. So if you're going with a running man first, right, changing between the two positions, one with both feet on the ground and one with only one foot. So as you're lifting one of your feet up, instead of placing it forward and sliding the other one backwards like you do with the running man, you just bring that one to the side. So that foot that was up goes to the side, and the one which was down, it just twists with the heel going out to the same side that the other foot has gone. So this will go straight into the T-step. This one's going to be a bit hard to practice because it's a bit hard to get your head to do that, because you are actually sliding your foot which is on the ground when you're doing the running man, but once you switch to T-step, you actually don't slide it. It actually has to be firmly on the ground. And if you notice the T-step, when you're doing the T-step to the side, you can actually do the same thing, the same motion, but bringing your feet actually forward and backward as well, right? So that kind of smooth motion, and you can transition from that quite easily back into running man. So as you're moving to the side, you can then move it forward, and then you can actually just go into the running man. So there's actually a bit of an overlap between the Charleston Shuffle as well. If you think about all these three moves, they're actually quite connected with very similar positioning of the feet. So I hope this was helpful, and see you in another tutorial video. Thanks for watching.